Well, the thing I like about your book, and your book is called Learn Nahuatl, Language of the Aztecs and Modern Nahuas. It's in its second edition. And the thing I really like about the second edition is that you've adopted the Inali orthography, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've always been, before I even knew anything about orthographies, if you look at the stuff that I wrote back in like 1998, 1999, I always used a K and a W. And people would give me, people would give me shit for that. They'd be like, why are you doing that? There's no such thing as a
Okay.
W in Nahuatl. And I'm like, oh, but there's an H and a U? What are you talking about? So my whole strategy was I'm just writing this stuff down in a way that's helping me
Right.
pronounce the words as correct as possible.
Sure.
And now I'm seeing more and more people using that style of writing. What caused you to change from one edition to the next, adopting this new orthography?
Well, I'll tell you, I was pretty conservative about keeping to the classical based spelling that it imitates what was using, kind of more about the classical kind of stuff. And I was pretty hard. I'm pretty stubborn. I was pretty stubborn about even thinking about moving. And maybe I'm a rule follower like that. I'm like, no, it's been like this.
Hmm.
You know, I was very uncompromising in that sense. But when I actually got to see that native Nahuas who are actually like prominent people in the Nahuatl community actually got together and thought about it deliberately and didn't just, it wasn't just some political thing, because that's the thing, that's how it gets taken discredited oftentimes, where it's like, oh well, this political thing and this political thing.
Hmm.
And there is a lot of politics involved in different orthographies. And I'm still not really much of a fan of the J's or the U's that have been promoted by SEP in the 80s. uh,
Hmm.
it's pretty sloppy. It's like it tries to be it tries to be based more on the sounds, but still falls short in by relying itself on Spanish conventions by
Yeah.
using the J, where it's not pronounced even like a J. It's not a hard J sound. So it's like imitating Spanish. It's like got the worst of both worlds, in my opinion. But I saw native Nahuas consider it, and it even asked me, like, start asked me to consider using the news system. And when I thought about it, I was like, well, actually, it does make a lot of sense. It would be actually easier to teach people to use this, because you don't have to teach them how to read Spanish. Because otherwise, you have to teach them how to read
Uh-huh.
Spanish
Yeah.
conventions first, right? You have the whole, it's a C before an I and E, but it changes to a Z after when it's, before, like, a at the end of a syllable. And there's all these really weird things where the letters change based on the position of where it's at, at the word. Is it before an A or is it before an I? And that's all about Spanish. And it makes sense for Spanish, because Spanish has this history where sounds changed and they kind of got stuck like that. Same thing with English. We pronounce things differently. We don't say knicht anymore. We say knight,
Yeah.
knight in shining armor. uh, but we still spell it like that because of its history. So I realized, well, it's easier. It make you can. It's easier to teach people because I don't have to teach them how to deal with the C's that change into
Hmm.
Q's, or the C's changing to Z's, or the HU's. So I got to skip a lot of that and just focus more on the actual sound. But what I do still do is I still represent the morphology of the word. I still keep to the history of where that word comes from. So like the word tonati,
Hmm.
yeah, it's pronounced tonati in the Huasteca, but we know it comes from the word tonatiu, right? In older times, and the W just changes to an H in the
Hmm.
Huasteca. I'll
And
still write
for
a.
listeners who don't know, what does tonahti mean?
It's a sun, the
Yeah.
sun or day,
Okay.
the sun or day, yeah. Um, and so I still write it with a W to represent that it used to be there. And not only does it represent that it used to be there, it also matches up with center varieties. So now you don't have like 10 different ways to write one word. It can be all done with one same system.